Welcome back. This is Thrawn again, and we're on episode 2, which is going to be the general setup, configuration, and the general tab of ElvUI. If you haven't joined it, if you're just joining us for the first time, and you haven't seen the introduction, you've already installed ElvUI. This is your next step. So let's go ahead and enter the world and see what it looks like, and we'll get the configuration set up and we'll go into the general tab. So when you log in for the first time, this is what you're going to see. I would highly recommend that you do not skip this process. You need to run through this for the first time. If you have any other um, character that you've already installed in, go ahead and skip this, and then you can copy from the other profile. And I'll show you how to do that in a while. So the first thing we're going to do is just hit continue. That's all you have to do. Now, CVARs, what that is that just your default World of Warcraft options that you want to set up. Don't skip this. You let ElvUI set this up. It's real easy. Just hit the continue button, just like this. Now you're going to get to your chat window. In your chat window, you can set this up, but don't worry about it. If it doesn't look the way that you want, like you want it, you can go back in and reset it later, and change whatever you want. So we're going to hit continue. Now, this step right here is going to set up what your bars and unit frames look like. So this right here is a classic. Now, you could select dark, and as you can see in the unit frame down here, it turned it dark. Or you could set it by class. So he's a paladin, so he's got this pinkish color. But I'm going to go with classic. And don't worry, you can go in and change that later as well if you don't like this look, which I don't. So I'll show you how I want to set this up. After you do that, you're just going to select continue, and this is your resolution. If you have an old or very low RAM on your graphics card, then you're going to want to set low resolution. Mine, I'm running dual video cards, so I'm going to set high resolution. I'm going to hit continue. That's simple. Now your layout. This is going to be determined based on what class you're playing, what spec you're playing. And really, it doesn't matter because you can always go and change this as well. So he's a paladin. He's a retribution paladin, so I'm going to set him up for physical damage. Not much in the layout changed. So I'm going to hit continue. Auras. What auras are is basically a timer bar that goes above your unit frame and your target frame. And you can decide whether you want aura bars and icons, or whether you want just icons. Personally, I like the aura bars and icons, so I'm going to select this, and I'm going to hit continue. And as you can see up top here, every time that you do that, it tells you that it's done. This is the last step in that process. All you have to do is hit finish. It does a restart, which anytime that you make any major change to ElvUI, that's what it's going to do. It's going to require a restart. Now, this right here, I'm just going to disable this. This is just a tutorial window that comes up, and I'm going to hit hide. I don't like that showing up every time. So that's it. That's your basic setup. But to me, it's kind of plain. It doesn't have everything I want. So now I'm going to go in and do some configuration of my own. To do that, you need to open the configuration window. Up here underneath the mini map, you're going to see a C. That's for configuration, and that's your configuration window. The first thing you want to do is make sure that you go in and you set up your profile. This is, as you can see, it sets up an initial ElvUI vid, which is his character's name and his realm, Bronzebeard. You want to make sure that's set up. Now, I told you that once you create your character, you can go and copy the profile from anyone else. You do that just by selecting the drop down here, and you can say copy from, and it will set up exactly like like any other ones you have. You can also go in here and delete a profile if you don't like a certain profile. And then again, this button right here will reset your profile and you go back through the process that we just did. Some other neat features is you can share your current profile, export your profiles, and share it with other people if they want to use it. Once you've set your profile up, you can also set up a secondary profile as well if you want. I usually don't, but you can go ahead and set up a secondary and switch between profiles. Okay, so let's look at the top here. You have toggle tutorial. This just turns on your tutorial. That login message right here, that's gone now. You won't get a login message. So there's a toggle tutorial. This is your install. If you click this, it'll go back through your install process that we just went through. This toggles your anchors, and anchors are this. It's your anchors for all of your frames that you have on your windows. Okay. And we'll go more into depth on that a little later on. Don't worry about the RAID markers. I'll get into that a little bit later. That's an added module that I usually use. Um, so this is what your toggle looks like, and then you can go and reset your anchors at any time. Okay. So let's take a look at your general tab. Now, when you go to each one of these tabs right here, you're going to see different types of drop downs that you'll be able to change. If there's a plus sign next to it, that means there's additional options from below. So here's your action bars, and you can change settings within each one of them, as well as your action bars in general. So we're just going to cover general right here. So this is your general settings. You can set it up so that you automatically accept invites. You can vendor graze right away. I usually do that. That way I don't have to worry about selling it. Anytime you open up a vendor window, it automatically sells that and it'll tell you how much gold you got for it. You can set it up so you auto greed and DE. I don't, because I like to see what I got and maybe I want to transmorg something. And if it DEs it, I lost it. Okay, so there's your loot roll, your loot and loot roll window. You can use these to get rid of or keep your loot roll windows. I keep them up. I auto scale everything. And that's just to keep the interface clean when I do it. I don't want one thing to be bigger than the other. If you have the ability to run multi-monitors, then you can select this and run multiple monitors. I have the error text hidden. I don't log taints, and I don't have a top panel right now. Top panel is, as you can see at the top, is just a black bar that runs across the top. And then you can also do the same for the bottom. As you can see, the bottom one is already there. I get rid of it. All right. This allows you to have a small world map and then world map coordinates. So if we open up the world map, you can see that the coordinates are down here. You have your player, and then you have your mouse over. So if you want to mouse over a certain area to know exactly where you need to go, what the coordinates are, there you go. That's what does it. All right. So now that we have the world map set up, you can have your enhanced PvP messages if you're a PvPer. I usually leave those on. And then disable tutorial button, which I've already done. All right, so this is your chat bubbles. So the bubbles that show up when you type a say message or if someone yells something. This is your font size for that. And you can decide whether you want to disable the skin background on this or whether you have them. And this is the text size for that. Now, I usually use Expressway as my text for almost everything. And then this is the font size. I like it just a touch bigger. And as you can see up top here, we were prompted to reload our window so that we have these options saved. Again, this is a major change because it's changing the font in the UI. So we're going to hit accept. It's going to reload. And we'll have to do this several times. Now that it's reloaded, we're going to go back into the configuration window. All right. And we're going to go to media. Now, what media is that is your general settings for majority of the UI. So in general, and you can change this on certain things all the way throughout the tabs, and you'll see that later on. So in general, I use Expressway. Okay. And I like my font just a little bit bigger so that I can see it. So let's look at 16 as a font size right now. Now, this is your combat text. I usually set this as Expressway again. And again, there's our settings change. And I also set up the other fonts as this. I'm going to apply to all. So that just changed all of the fonts. As you can see down here, it changed all the font size when I hit apply to all. I'm going to do one other thing before I do this reload. And that is I'm going to decide what I want for the background. And if you watch the unit frame, it'll change. I'm going to go with glossy. As you can see, it changed the look of this. My secondary texture, I don't want it to change. So I'm going to set it as glossy as well. And then the colors, you can go ahead and change the color values and such. So this is a mana bar. So that's a color value for a mana bar, for example. Okay. So let's close this and do a reload just so all those changes actually take effect. All right. So we've got all of our settings changed. And just as a little piece of information, you notice that the font size didn't change on the chat or on the unit frames. Those will get changed later. All right. So now that we've done the media, we can go to the mini map. The mini map has several different options on the side right here, as you can see. If I had a garrison, I could show my garrison bar. All right. But that's what this is as well. This shows my garrison resources that I have available. And if I had a garrison, I'd be able to click on this and it'll bring up my garrison information just like this does. So I hide this. And then calendar. Now, you don't have to have your calendar showing. You can have it. This is your calendar right here. If you click on this, there's your calendar. However, and if, let's say, your guild master sets up a raid that you're invited to, or maybe a guild meeting, this will start flashing. Just like in your calendar, you'll have a question mark flashing. All right. So I'm going to unhide that, and I'm going to scale it down just a touch. All right, now I'm going to move it because I actually like it to be on the bottom left. And there you go. And that's why, because there's the mail that I didn't see. Okay. Now, the other thing is you can offset just a little bit. Maybe you don't want it that close. Maybe you want it right up against the corner. You can decide exactly where you want to set this. And then your Y offset is up and down, as you can see. So I'm going to set this back to 0. And by the way, you can type in those values as well. So if I go 0, and when you type in you have to press enter in order for that to take effect. If you don't, and you leave it, go to something else, it's gone. You won't see it. Okay, so this is your LFGQ. It's your rate finder, little green eye that you see. And this too is set, or this is set for bottom right, whereas your calendar is set for bottom left. So it will show up over here. That's fine with me. That's where I want it to show up. But you can change the location anywhere you want. Okay. Um, and then all those values can change. Now, mail. I like my mail to actually be right next to my calendar. So what I do is I set that, instead of top right, I'll set that on the bottom. Now, I don't like the scale of that either because I like it to actually be a little bit bigger so it's kind of like the calendar. But I need to move it. So I put it right about center there, and then I offset it, and I bring it closer to there. Scale's not quite where I want it, so I increase it just a touch more, and there we go. That's it. The instance difficulty is the difficulty of your instance, which will show up over here as a little flag. And with the instance also, if it's a guild run, then it'll show up as your guild banner. And then you have challenge mode and then leave vehicle. Now, leave vehicle and instance difficulty, I think you're going to find. Okay, so leave vehicle is actually bottom left. I don't like that. I like it top left. So it's going to be up here. Now, 9 times out of 10, you're not going to be in a vehicle in an instance. All right. So having those over the same area isn't necessarily bad. Now, that's the general setup for your mini map. As you can see, when I mouse over, the location that I'm currently in shows up. I don't like that. I like that to show up always. So I click that and it shows up always. And then, of course, you can scale the size of that. So that's set at 176 right now. That's the size of your map. Okay. You can scale your map. I like 176. That works for me. So there's 176. That's the scale of your map. Now, the other thing is this right here. If you don't want to see your map whatsoever, then you can click this. However, as you can see on the side right here, you have your consolidated buffs for your raids and instances and everything. And you can take a quick look at that and boom, you know what you got. If you disable that, okay, if you hide that, that's a major change, of course. So it's going to reload. But if you hide that, you're not going to see those. But excuse me, it disabled it. Okay. So it went back to the old mini map of World of Warcraft. Now you might say, it's gone. How do I get to, okay. So there's a couple of ways to get to ElvUI. And one, you can hit escape and go to interface, go to your add-ons. Oh, I'm sorry, it doesn't show up there. So we're going to return to game. And we're going to say slash, I believe it's EC, is your ElvUI configuration. Okay. Now we're going to go back to our general. We're actually going to enable the mini map again because I like the way the mini map looks on that. So it's going to take another reload. But once we do that, your mini map is going to be back just the way that you set it up. Oh, there it is. And I like having that configuration right there. Okay. Easy as pie. So there's your experience bar. Your experience bar is right here. As you can see, it's just a thin bar. And when you mouse over, you get your current experience remaining to get to the next level, and then your rested experience. Okay. I like having mine right next to my chat frame. Some people, though, they're not like me and they like to have it horizontal. So what we're going to do then is we're going to change the width. And obviously the height is too high. So we're going to go, I don't know, let's try 15, see what that looks like. As you can see, I dropped down too high. So I hit 1.5, press enter, there it goes. Now to move this, all you do is toggle your anchors, and there you go. Now, the one thing that I do is I take this off right here. Sticky frames. I hate that because I like to put it where I want to put it. So what I do is let's say I want to put this, let's just say I want to put it right here. So then I can lock it, but it's not long enough. I want it the width of the bars. So all you do is you change the width, or and then okay, so that's not exactly where I want it. So I toggle it again, and then I can just use this to kind of nudge it over a little bit. Okay, so that should be just about good. Hangs over just a little bit, but you can adjust it as you want. Let's try 833. Not enough. So let's go with bigger numbers, 825. There you go. Okay, so that's the exact same size. Now, if you set mouse over, it'll only show up when you mouse over it. And then you can see where you stand. I usually leave mine up, though. I'm going to set this at 10, though. And I'm going to set the height at, I don't know, 125. Okay, remember I told you that you need to hit enter? I didn't hit enter right there. So there's 10 and 125. But I want to set it back to vertical. And the vertical just says which direction does your experience grow. So I'm going to toggle that and move it back over to the chat window. Obviously, that's way too short. Okay, so I'm going to lock that, and then I'm going to change the height. Toggle it again. And that looks to be about the right place to put it. However, it's a little bit too high still. So let's try 185. Still not quite right. And there you go. And as you can see, I stretched it all the way down to the bottom. There's actually a reason behind that. And the reasoning behind that is, boom, I just moved my chat window all the way down to the bottom. Now, you're able to do that after, as you can see, it's a little bit tall. After you take the sticky frames out, you can then move your chat windows all the way down in the corner. You can also move your mini map, move any of this stuff all the way to the edges. So we're going to lock that, and we're going to, let's look at 180 on this one, and there you go. That's the height. The other thing that you can do is you can go to chat, and you can look at the height of your chat window. It's set for panel height of 180, which is what this is set for. All right, so that's your experience bar. And the next thing we're going to do is your reputation bar, which runs the same here as my reputation or my experience. So I've got the reputation that I've selected. All right, so I went into my character and I decided that my reputation, I wanted to set my reputation to show as experience as an experience bar over here. All right, so that's what that is. And it works exactly the same as your experience bar. The other thing is your text format, so you can decide what format you want to see. Okay, I put none, and it shows as a mouse over when I do that. All right, so now your threat bar. Your threat bar shows up in how much threat you are generating compared to, say, your tank, or you know. And what you want to do is you want it to show up. This one right now will show up right here. Okay. That's not what I want, though. I like my threat to be on the left chat window because I like to keep this open. All right. And you don't see anything now, but when you get into combat, you'll see this change and you won't, this will get covered up and you won't see it at all. That's why I want to keep this up. Okay. Because this is important to me. If I'm starting to have FPS or MS problems, that's frames per second and milliseconds. That's your speed at which your internet's traveling between your server and your computer. Then I want to know where the problems are. Okay. And yeah, there might be something going on that I need to keep an eye on for the time. So I leave that open. Your class bar. Paladins, for example, have a hammer of no. Oh, see now I got to look that one up. Let's see, what the heck is it? Yeah, I don't have that available, so it doesn't show. But anyways, anything that would show up on your threat bar, or not your threat bar, but consecration. There's a good example. Consecration would show up over here as a timer button, not clickable, but you can have it show up wherever you want. All right, and that's what that does. That's what the class bar does. You can decide how many buttons, button size, and then you can decide what direction you want it to go. All right, your cooldown. Now, what your cooldown is your cooldown text on your spells.
I don't have a target.
So once you cast a Crusader Strike and it goes to cooldown, based on the color here is the color of your text. Okay. You can set your low threshold here just by typing the number in or using the bar to move it over. And when it's about to expire, when it reaches 3 seconds in this case, the text will turn red and continue to count down. Yellow is seconds, white is minutes. I guess that's light blue would be hours, and then your standard blue would be days. And that will show up on your action buttons. The only thing we have left is our objective frame. Now, I picked up an objective just so I could show you this, because if you don't have an objective showing, this will not show up. So you can decide how big you want it, whether you want it on the left or on the right. This is your bonus reward. Okay. So if you decide that you want your objectives over here, your bonus reward will show up on the right hand side. I set it for left because I always want it on the left. That's it. Oh, and by the way, if you want to move your objectives, all you have to do is pick up your objectives frames and move it to wherever you want. Okay. Let's say I want to move it right up underneath my mini map, and there we go. Now it's right up underneath my mini map. I hit my arrow, it drops down. There you go. And that's the general tab. I hope this is helpful. I'm going to continue creating these episodes, and I will upload them as often as I can. And I'm going to take and just build this guy all the way through. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.